Hobart race time once again, and Jane Golding is here once more from the Weather Bureau in Sydney, or the Bureau of Meteorology. So very quickly, Jane, what's the story for the boys?
Well, it's looking
and
like,
girls.
And girls, yeah, it's looking like a pretty benign start to the race. Southerly coming through a couple of days before, meaning the winds should have turned back to an east-southeasterly by about race time, about 10 knots. And then during the next 6 or so hours, they'll swing around to a northeasterly, around 15 knots, say, as the boats head down the coast. So
on Boxing Day, there'll be a nor'easter out of the harbour, spinning down the coast?
Yeah, it might take a few hours to swing around to the northeast, so say an east-southeasterly coming out of the harbour, and then as they head down towards Eden, swinging back around.
And when does the front come through? Because there's always a front.
There's always a front, but this year we're not looking like we will get one before the 28th. And even then, the guidance is a bit fickle at the moment on the 28th, so it could be later than that.
28th, that late?
Yeah. So at least at the moment, it looks like once the northeasterlies come in, they'll keep building through the 27th, at least the first part of the 28th, and maybe into the 29th.
Why is this, Jane? Because usually there's a bit of action up in the Indian Ocean, isn't there, to bring some sort of fun and games for the boys?
That's right, yeah. No, at the moment, what we've seen over the last few weeks actually is just a really strong high keep building in the Tasman Sea, which blocks any of the fronts. The fronts track to the south of Tassie, south of New South Wales definitely, south of Tassie, and it's got to be a really strong front to kind of battle against that high. So at the moment it looks like the high will hold pretty steady, at least up to the 28th.
Is that why we're getting so much hot weather here?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I see, okay. Now that's the 28th, the 29th?
Well, 29th, it's going to depend, that's 7 days from now, but I'd say it'll either be a southerly as you head into the dawn.
Come on, Jane, give us a prediction. It'll either be a southerly or northerly.
Yeah, but what I can say...
Well, that's hedging your bets.
Well, what I can say is the guidance that is hinting at the front, coming through either late on the 28th or on the 29th, is also suggesting it'll be a pretty temporary feature, so it won't last for long. So if there is a front that comes through, you swing back around to the northeast pretty quickly.
So what's your prediction? Who's going to win the race? Come on, you've been doing it a number of years now, Jane. You should be...
I can't make that prediction. It will depend what time they hit the Derwent.
Well, of course, yeah. Well, that's the pack, isn't it? That's the problem.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's great. Well, thank you very much for that. And any other little snippets you'd like to give to everybody as far as the weather is concerned?
Oh no, that's pretty much it. But it looks like a nice day to watch the start of the race.
Fantastic. Now, how often do you do updates?
We update the forecast twice a day out of the Bureau of Meteorology. So next update will be this afternoon.
And if something dramatic happens, do you do special?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. If it looks like it's going to be significantly windier, then we're predicting there'll be updates to the race organisers and also through mornings.
Oh, that's good. Well, have a lovely Christmas and hopefully you'll bring us some good weather.
Yep. Okay, you too.
Thank you, Jane. Well, once again, Tom Addis is here. Tom's put the hammer and the chisel down from the house and he's gone sailing again, this time with Blackjack. He's navigating to Hobart in the 100-footer, who won it in 2009 in the old Alfa Romeo guys. So, Tom, how's it looking for you this year?
Yeah, really nice forecast for everyone. Just nice forecast for humanity this time. There's always a good chance when you're racing south in the southern hemisphere that a front's going to come and get you. But we're starting at a good time, just after a front, and it looks like us and the bulk of the fleet should be able to get through before the next front. So that means downwind and warm and. Well, we're talking about the front of the fleet, so we're talking about 4 boats, and they're all pretty well in this sort of conditions about the same speed, aren't they? Yeah,
they're sort of all optimised together.
Yeah, I think as soon as you've got sort of over 10 knots, we're probably similar speeds. Yeah. Comanche, I think, in the heavier end, 20 plus is going to have an advantage, and we'll be a little bit slower than them in that stuff, but. the big one for us is if they slow down after Tasman Light for those last 40 miles to the finish, which can be very light if they get there late at night. That's our big chance to catch back up to them. But
so, what you're predicting a fist fight in the Derwent River, are you?
Yeah, it could be. I mean, who knows? You never know how these things are going to pan out. There's 600 miles to happen before that bit, but yeah, it is a big variable part of the race. You can do everything right and get to Tasman in great shape, and then just cough it all up after that, just because there is no wind. So it's it's a massive variable part of this race, and it's why the record's so hard to get in this race. Well,
it's interesting. It's interesting, isn't it? Of the 4 maxis, the super maxis that we're all talking about, 2 have got brand new owners and pretty well new crews, haven't they? Including yours and Comanche.
Yes.
So it's a big proving ground for 2 boats at least.
For sure. Over the last year or so, Sydney's become the home for all the racing super maxis in the world, pretty much.
It has, hasn't it?
There's one on the west coast, and can't think of many more sort of proper racing boats around.
No, that's right.
Yeah, got a great lineup, all well run, well funded campaigns.
And Peter and the boys on Blackjack, how are they going with settling in with the boat? Yeah,
good. Yep, we've had it on the water for about 6 months now. It was a real rush to get it ready for the Southport race. That was end of July. So we've had 6 months. We've done a fair bit of sailing in that time, a lot of offshore races back and forth to Brisbane. So we're the boat's in surprisingly good shape for one that's only been on the water for 6 months after a big refit.
Well, she won it in 2009, didn't she?
Yep. A lot of the systems have been replaced and updated since then. All the hydraulics and electrics in the boat have been stripped out and replaced. But the fundamental boat is still really good. I mean, it was built just before Wild Oats, and they've all been, both the boats have been really well maintained through the years. So for 12-year-old boats, they're in fantastic shape.
Well, they're practically sister ships, aren't they, really?
Yeah, it's very minor differences, but
So what's your record now with them as far as the latest? Is with it 2 all or 1 all? Or?
With Oats, I think, the last 4 races it's 3-1 to us, I think.
3-1,
that's Cabbage Tree, but they didn't do the big boat race. But the weather plays a big part. Cabbage Tree was very light, and that suits us. You look at these boats and go, they're all 100-footers, but they're actually all completely different.
They are, right?
And even Oats now is quite different after the mods they've done.
Oh, once they've chopped it around, yes.
Yeah, they've positioned themselves a bit further up the scale than us. So, they're surprising the differences at some wind speeds and angles,
So what's your program for 2018, Tom? Are you...
It's still sort of falling into place. I'm off to the China Sea race, then a bit of West Coast America stuff, the Mexico race and the Pac Cup, a bit of St Bart's on a big super yacht. But
mate, that sounds terrible.
It is. I don't know how I can do it.
I don't know, mate. Look, I feel so sad for you.
It's
really.
Just a testament to my resilience. I can bear this. But,
what does the family say about all this?
Keep pinching yourself. How lucky we are. But yes, but no. Look, I'm not doing nearly as much as I used to.
Sure.
Got a young family now. And
not interested in the Volvo anymore.
No, I'd love to be helping out, and might do a leg or 2 at some stage, but not the whole thing. No.
So you're not going to Melbourne after the race?
No, although somebody asked me the other day, I hadn't really sort of put 2 and 2 together to sort of realise that was possible. So I've got no major plans through January. So maybe I'll just get a flight that goes through Melbourne and stops for a day there and go and say good day to some friends.
Right, I'll have a chat to Whitty on the way through for you. He's got a navigator with a broken arm.
He is. He can't take a trick at the moment, can he?
No, that's right. He's going through navigators like sandwiches.
Fairly high.
Wouldn't you like to be driving down the ice skate?
Oh, it looks brutal. Those
50 knots?
Yeah, if the shift is sort of against those gates, it gets exhausting pretty quickly.
It certainly does, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Well, all the best, mate. Have a great race.
Thank you.
We'll be down there to see you come in, so we'll hope we're passing you champagne.
Terrific. Look forward to it.
All the best, Tom.
Thank you.
We're here with Libby Greenhalgh, who's in from England for her first Sydney to Hobart yacht race.
Yeah.
And it looks like it's going to be a downhill sleigh ride, Libby.
Yeah, no, pretty stoked that it is a downhill sleigh ride. Obviously, we were out on the water yesterday, and the strong southerly came in pretty strong and pretty quickly. But yeah, at the moment it looks like a nice northeasterly, building maybe 15-20 knots, and we'll probably see 25-30 as we head south.
So tell us about the boat.
So I'm sailing on Climate Action now, which is a HIC 50, and sailing with Lisa Blair. She's not long, about 2.5 months back from sailing around, completing her race around Antarctica by herself. So it's all a bit of it's been a bit hectic and quite full on getting all sorted, but we've put a really good collaboration together as a partnership with the Magenta Project, which is aiming to accelerate women to the top of the sport, and we've put out an application for 5 women to join the team, and so we've got quite a cross section of sailors from across the world. So we've so far only been about 2 hours out on the water together as a team, so we've got a bit of training still to do. Well and truly. So the Magenta Project is being driven, of course, with the Decaferri too, isn't it, through the Volvo? Yeah. The Magenta Project was established after the last Volvo edition, and was basically the Team SCA sort of finished the race, and we looked around and looked at the landscape of sailing, and we were like, this still needs to change to be able to get more opportunities for sailors at the top end. And Decaferri was obviously on the team, and she's now skippering in the Volvo Ocean Race on Turn the Tide with a youth team and a mixed team, which is great to see. You didn't want to go back again? I'd love to go back again. The opportunity didn't quite come knocking on my door at the beginning, so yeah, it's a shame, and I'll be for sure looking to get in the race again. Oh, that's good. Yeah, well, that's a great idea, isn't it? Now, Hobart, what does it bring for you? What happens after that? Hobart for me, is pretty much a home trip after this, probably via Hong Kong to see some friends and go on a little bit of a holiday to Vietnam. But I've never been to Tasmania as well, so nice to get the opportunity to see that part of the world. You'll enjoy it. Yeah, there's got a wonderful museum down there too. Oh, brilliant. So what is your sailing schedule for 2018? At the moment it's quite open. I think that's often the case with the sailing world. I've been doing a lot of, I did the middle sea race on a boat called Maverick, which is an Infinity 46 with DSS foils, and I'm hoping to do more sailing with that. They're looking to do probably the Caribbean 600, and then even hopefully this time next year they'll be in the Sydney Hobart with it. So hoping to continue to do a bit of racing with those guys, including the Newport Bermuda race, and it's a pretty cool boat. It's a 46-footer that goes like a bullet. It's insane, yeah. Yeah, that's great. So how many on the crew this time around for this race? For the race there's now with Climate Action now, we've got eight crew on board, and myself and Lisa are co-skippering. We've got Ellie Draper, who's a UK-based sailor, as another one of the experienced sailors, and then we've got 3 US based sailors and 2 more Australian sailors. Oh, well, that's a good international roundup, isn't it? Really, yeah. Nice, it's pretty good, for sure. And I think there's I mean, having done this project, we're looking at how we can perhaps do a similar thing for something like the Fastnet or the Round Britain Island next year, and give opportunities again for more female sailors to gain experience. And what's the message that you've got? Seeing the boat's name is very right at this stage of the. Yeah, I mean, the Lisa Blair Climate Action now, the key message there is actually really getting down to the individuals, that individuals can make a difference. We all see in the news, look at all this plastic, isn't it? Oh. Awful, but it's actually, well, how can you make a difference to the climate? What changes can you do? And it's right down to really little things, from not using single-use plastic, to turning a plug switch off, to turning the lights off when you leave the room, and just really kind of getting an individual to take ownership, because if everybody across the world does that, then it really will make a difference. So, act now and think about what little thing you can do every day to make a difference. Well, congratulations, and keep at it, because we really need your help. Yeah, indeed. No problem. Thanks, Libby. Have a great race. Cool. Will do. Thank you. Bye. Familiar face in the CYC is Dan Honey, the navigator on Comanche, and he's back once again to lead the big team to go with Jim Kearney this year with the new owner. So how's it all working out there, Stan? Well, it's great. The boat's in wonderful shape.
large part due to the credit of Casey Smith and Tim Hackett, the shore crew. It's wonderful to have a new owner that's very engaged with the boat, and Jim's been out with us every day so far, and will be coming out with us every day prior to the race. And Jim's a good driver, and we're really looking forward to it.
And have you got your regular crew over from the US?
Well, the crew really, for the most part, it's not an American crew. You know, it's an international crew, so there's a lot of, you know, Kiwis and Aussies on the crew. But we do have our regular crew. And then I came over, you know, from the US as the navigator.
How many on the boat?
We'll be sailing with, I think, 21.
And what about the forecast? Are you happy with that?
I'm delighted with the forecast. In the range of Hobart forecasts, this looks like a relatively quick one. I don't think we'll be on the record pace because it'll be very light at the end. So there's some things I would definitely do to improve the forecast, but in the range of average Hobart forecast, this is definitely a keeper.